Alcohol is a miracle. That is the scandalous truth we rarely dare to admit. It is not just a drink, not just fermented grain or grape. It is alchemy for the soul. A few sips, and suddenly the grey walls of consciousness collapse, revealing colours we never knew were hidden within us. It seduces like a lover who whispers secrets we didn't even know we carried. It tells the shy man he is a poet, the broken woman she is a goddess, the cynic that he can laugh again. In the glass lies a strange form of grace, the ability to shed the skin of caution, to silence the censor in our skull, to dance in the reckless light of freedom. And for a moment, it feels holy. It feels like revelation. But what sort of miracle is this, one that burns the throat while caressing the mind? It is the paradox of liberation wrapped in chains. Alcohol is the Dionysian ecstasy Nietzsche praised. Chaos, music, frenzy, the collapse of form into raw life force. It is Camus' rebellion against the absurd, a refusal to bow to reason by drowning it in intoxication. In its glow, you believe you are more alive, more authentic, closer to your essence. And yet, the miracle conceals its darker truth. The same liquid that lifts you to the heights is also the venom that drags you down. The miracle is double-edged, because it doesn't give you wings. It convinces you you've always had them, right before it sets them on fire. Tell me then, what kind of miracle destroys as it delivers? Why do billions call it a friend when it ruins families, careers, even nations? Why does the world pour libations to a deity that offers ecstasy laced with annihilation? Perhaps the answer is this: alcohol isn't the devil, it's the mirror. And when we look into that shimmering glass, what we see terrifies us, yet we keep drinking. Because maybe the truth is that we don't want salvation, we want a beautiful illusion. Alcohol is not simply consumed, it is worshipped. Temples of glass line every street corner, chalices raised in dim-lit bars, sermons sung in slurred voices at midnight. We treat it not as poison, but as communion. Think about it. Weddings, funerals, victories, defeats. Every ritual of human life seems incomplete without this liquid miracle. It becomes the lubricant of intimacy, the passport to courage, the excuse for both laughter and violence. Entire cultures measure time by it: happy hour, last call, morning hangover. And yet within this ritual lies the seed of slavery. Why do we love it so? Because alcohol whispers the promise of escape. It tells us you don't need to carry the full weight of yourself tonight. It lets us dissolve into something bigger, something easier, something less relentlessly aware. The shackles of self-consciousness fall away, and suddenly the party feels like salvation. That is why people call it liquid courage. It grants the illusion of bravery by numbing the very fear that defines it. But courage without consciousness is not courage at all. It's a counterfeit coin that buys temporary joy at the price of future despair. Psychologists will tell you it's conditioning. B.F. Skinner showed us how behavior is shaped by rewards, and alcohol delivers them like clockwork. Dopamine surges, serotonin hums, the brain claps for itself. Every drink becomes a lever pulled in the great experiment of our own undoing. But deeper still, it appeals to something ancient, something mythic. Jung might say it feeds the shadow, the dark twin we hide from polite society. In the drunken haze, that shadow dances freely, liberated, and for a moment we are honest. Too honest. Honest enough to reveal what sobriety politely conceals. So is alcohol a miracle, or is it the most elegant trap ever invented? What other substance convinces you that your surrender is victory, your slavery is freedom? This is the genius of the bottle. It doesn't force you. You walk to it willingly, smiling, convinced you've chosen liberation. Every sip is a pact with paradox. You lift the glass to your lips, thinking you are choosing joy, but in truth you are choosing amnesia. Alcohol is not liberation. It is selective erasure. It doesn't give you freedom. It deletes the parts of yourself that resist. The anxious voice is muted, the doubt is drowned, the wound is blurred. And in that silence, people mistake absence for peace. But is peace merely the muting of conflict, or is it the confrontation of it? If alcohol is a miracle, then it is one that works by subtraction, not addition. Consider the existentialists. Sartre wrote that man is condemned to freedom, that every choice is a burden because it reveals our radical responsibility. Alcohol whispers, "Let me carry that weight for you." For a night, you're excused from the torment of freedom. You can act without thinking, speak without reflection, love without hesitation. But the bill always arrives. Freedom suspended is not freedom earned, it is freedom deferred. And the morning reminds you of the debt you must pay, the shame, the headache, the fragments of yourself scattered like broken glass. Neuroscience confirms what philosophy intuited. The drink hijacks dopamine circuits, rewires reward pathways, tricks the brain into believing it has found meaning in mere intoxication. It is not happiness, it is a counterfeit of happiness. The neurons do not care about truth, they only care about stimulation. And so we worship stimulation as though it were salvation. But when the pleasure fades, what is left? A deeper void than before. Here lies the horror. The miracle does not reveal who you are. It reveals how desperately you want not to know. Think of how alcohol reshapes the architecture of the night. One glass and the edges of reality soften. Two and the world begins to glow with a strange counterfeit beauty. By the third, strangers become confidants, secrets slip through lips once sealed, and time itself bends like a candle in the wind. It feels transcendent, almost divine, as if you have entered a state of revelation where every word carries more weight, every gesture more meaning. This is why poets and artists once worshipped the bottle, believing it opened the gates of genius. But genius intoxicated is rarely genius sustained. The canvas painted in ecstasy often dries into incoherence. The words that flowed in drunken passion read in daylight like babble. What felt like divine inspiration was only the nervous system set ablaze, neurons firing without order, chaos masquerading as clarity. Alcohol tricks us into believing we have touched the eternal, when in truth we have merely blurred the boundaries of the real. And yet, is this not precisely why people return to it? Because in those blurred moments, life feels less ordinary. The cage of reason is rattled, the dull weight of daily existence momentarily lifted. Nietzsche spoke of the Dionysian, madness, music, intoxication, as the counterpart to the Apollonian order of logic. Without that chaos, he argued, life becomes sterile. Perhaps alcohol seduces because it offers us the Dionysian shortcut, ecstasy without the effort, chaos without the risk, transcendence poured into a glass. But here lies the seduction's cruelty. The shortcut never leads to freedom. It leads in circles, tighter each time, until the pursuit of transcendence becomes indistinguishable from the prison of addiction. The so-called miracle becomes a leash, and the leash feels like wings until you notice the bruises around your neck. Alcohol is not content to alter the mind. It infiltrates the body, reshaping its rhythms like a hidden puppeteer. The pulse quickens, the blood warms, the muscles loosen. A flush spreads across the face, signaling both vitality and decay. What strange paradox is this, that the body feels more alive as it quietly moves closer to collapse? The miracle is physiological theater. Your nervous system becomes a stage where illusion is performed with frightening precision. Modern neuroscience strips the mask from this performance. Each drink floods the synapses with dopamine, hijacking the circuitry designed for survival. What once rewarded food, love, and accomplishment now answers to ethanol. The brain cannot tell the difference. Pleasure is pleasure, and so the bottle becomes a god the neurons kneel to. Skinner would call it conditioning. The lever is pulled, the reward is delivered, the behavior is reinforced. But what if the lever controls not just the rat, but the very architect of his will? We imagine ourselves sovereign beings, free to choose, yet here lies the ideological bombshell. Perhaps free will is nothing more than chemical bribery. Every sip a small betrayal of autonomy, every buzz a surrender to molecular manipulation. Alcohol doesn't enslave by chains, it enslaves by rewards. You thank it for the very bars it builds around you. And still, the world praises this process as celebration. We toast at weddings, we drown sorrows at funerals, we drink to forget, and we drink to remember. The miracle is not only that alcohol deceives us, it is that we beg for the deception. But if alcohol is a miracle, it is the kind that demands sacrifice. What does it take first? Time. Hours blurred into oblivion, evenings forgotten, mornings erased. Then it takes the body, one organ at a time, liver hardening, nerves fraying, brain cells extinguished like stars in a collapsing sky. Finally, it takes the soul, or at least the fragile sense of self we pretend to guard. The miracle is costly, but the payment is disguised as pleasure, making the debtor believe he is rich even as his life bankrupts. Ask yourself, why is this poison celebrated when other drugs are demonized? Perhaps because alcohol is not seen as rebellion but as conformity. To drink is to belong, to participate in the shared theatre of intoxication. A society built on order allows this single, controlled chaos because it keeps the masses tame. Drunk workers don't revolt, they stumble home and sleep. Drunk citizens don't conspire, they forget. The bottle becomes both escape and control mechanism, rebellion sold in neat packages at the corner store. And yet, in its twisted brilliance, alcohol offers a revelation. For in the drunken state, masks fall away. Repressed truths erupt, hidden desires surface, raw aggression reveals itself. Jung might call it the shadow, Freud the id unleashed. The polite face of civilization dissolves and the primal animal steps forward. Some fear this, others crave it. Either way, it is a mirror too honest for daylight. So what is the real miracle? That humanity has found a way to mass-produce self-deception, to distribute illusion like bread, to baptize every soul in the same bitter sacrament. And still we call it freedom. Imagine the first sip, that golden warmth sliding down the throat. It feels like the unlocking of a hidden chamber in the self. Anxiety dissolves, tension slips away, laughter rises with less resistance. This is the seduction. Alcohol promises to make life easier, smoother, more bearable. It whispers, why struggle with the weight of consciousness when I can carry it for you? And billions obey. But the truth buried beneath the sweetness is darker. Alcohol doesn't carry your burden, it hides it. It doesn't resolve conflict, it silences it temporarily, leaving it festering in the shadows. The confrontation you avoided waits for you, sharper, heavier, demanding more drink to push it back again. This is the cycle, escape that deepens the trap, liberation that slowly erodes into dependency. Philosophers of the absurd like Camus told us life has no inherent meaning, and that we must live defiantly in that void. But alcohol seduces us into another rebellion, a counterfeit one. Instead of staring into the abyss and creating meaning, we drown the abyss in ethanol, pretending it is gone. But it remains patient, waiting beneath the hangover haze. The miracle of alcohol is that it convinces us for a few hours that existence is easier than it is. And maybe that is why humanity clings to it. Not because it heals, but because it anesthetizes. Because pain delayed feels like pain erased, even though the ledger is still there, waiting to be balanced. The miracle isn't salvation. The miracle is deception, so perfect, so desirable, we call it love. The bottle is a philosopher in disguise, but a cruel one. It poses questions not with words, but with effects. Who are you without inhibition? Drink, and you'll find out. What truths lie buried in your chest? Drink, and they erupt. Do you fear yourself? Drink, and you'll meet that fear head-on, or collapse under it. This is why alcohol is terrifying. It doesn't create lies, it amplifies truths too jagged to face sober. And yet people mistake this exposure for authenticity. The drunk confession, the drunken rage, the drunken kiss, all of them are defended with that old excuse, but I was drunk, as if intoxication makes the act less real. Perhaps it is the opposite. Perhaps intoxication strips away the filters, and what remains is too raw to accept in daylight. Alcohol is not the mask, it is the solvent that dissolves the mask. But here's the paradox. While it reveals the truth, it simultaneously erodes the self. The mirror doesn't stay intact. Drink enough, and the image shatters into fragments. You may glimpse your shadow, your desires, your hidden face, but you lose the ability to hold them together. The so-called miracle becomes fragmentation, scattering pieces of you across nights you barely remember. So we face a question few dare to ask. Is alcohol liberation, or is it the most seductive form of self-destruction? What if your next drink is not a toast, but a contract with your own annihilation? Alcohol, in its cruel brilliance, thrives on paradox. It convinces you that you are more free when you are in fact less so. The hand gripping the glass believes itself in control, yet it is the glass that dictates the terms of the evening, the pace of conversation, the rise and fall of laughter. We do not drink alcohol. Alcohol drinks us. It consumes our hours, our choices, our bodies, and yet we toast to it as if it were liberation incarnate. Think of the rituals. One more round. Just a nightcap. Cheers. These phrases are not innocent. They are liturgies of surrender. They sanctify consumption and disguise it as connection. The miracle of alcohol is not in what it gives, but in how it persuades us to call our captivity joy. This is no ordinary addiction. It is a culturally blessed one, baptized by tradition and normalized by repetition. And science stands as witness to the betrayal. The brain, hijacked by dopamine bursts, rewrites its own wiring to crave what is slowly dismantling it. Each sip strengthens the illusion of choice while weakening the reality of autonomy. Skinner's rats pressed levers for pellets. We press them for pints. The difference is only in the theatre, not in the script. Yet here is the strangest truth. We are not deceived entirely. Deep down, we know the destruction, we feel the decay, we sense the cost, and still we drink. Why? Because the miracle of alcohol is not its power to hide reality. It is its power to make us complicit in the lie. Alcohol is not the devil. It never had to be. The devil works by force. Alcohol works by invitation. We call it in, we raise it high, we worship it with laughter. And when it punishes us, we thank it for the privilege. What other force commands such loyalty through such visible ruin? Families torn apart, yet the bottle remains at the table. Lives destroyed, yet society keeps toasting. We know it kills, and still we celebrate it as culture, as tradition, as adulthood itself. But what if this devotion reveals something deeper than weakness? What if alcohol exposes a secret hunger in the human spirit? The hunger to dissolve, to vanish, to be free, not only of fear but of self. For isn't that what intoxication really is? A rehearsal for death? Consciousness blurred, memory fractured, ego dissolved. A mini-apocalypse poured into a glass, giving us the taste of oblivion without its permanence. We love it because it is the one safe way to flirt with annihilation. Safe, of course, until it isn't. Jung spoke of the shadow, but perhaps alcohol reveals not just the shadow of the individual, but the shadow of civilization itself, our refusal to face the void without props. We cannot bear existence in its full clarity, so we invent rituals of oblivion, excuses to forget, technologies of escape. Alcohol just happens to be the most convenient, the most seductive, the most socially blessed. So maybe alcohol's true miracle is not intoxication, it is exposure. It reveals the fragile foundation of our freedom, the way we willingly exchange sovereignty for sedation, not because we are forced, but because deep down we crave the sweet surrender. And yet if alcohol is a miracle, it is one that can be turned against itself. For every chain it forges, there exists the possibility of mastery. Not abstinence preached like a sermon, but sovereignty claimed like a birthright. The Stoics remind us through Epictetus, it is not events that enslave us, but our judgments of them. To lift the glass and choose, not out of compulsion, not out of fear, but out of conscious ritual, this is power. To deny it not from hatred, but from indifference, this is mastery. Eastern philosophies whisper a similar truth. Detachment is not suppression, but clarity. To sit with discomfort, to face the raw nerves of existence without numbing them, is the deeper courage alcohol pretends to offer. True freedom is not liquid. It is the stillness of seeing temptation, smiling at it and deciding with awareness whether to engage. Imagine drinking not to escape, but to confront, not to dissolve, but to remember, not to worship the bottle, but to reveal your own power in the face of it. So here lies the final provocation. Alcohol isn't the devil, it is the mirror. And the mirror itself has no power. The terror comes from what it reflects. If you can look into that reflection and not flinch, not flee, not surrender, then you have turned the so-called miracle into your tool, not your master. The question is no longer should you drink, but why? Is it anesthesia or is it ritual? Is it surrender or is it sovereignty? The miracle of alcohol is that it offers you a choice. The tragedy is that most never see it. And the rebellion, the true rebellion, is not against the drink itself, but against the part of you that longs to be erased. What if your next drink were not an escape, but a confrontation with your own freedom?